What happens when love defies societal boundaries? In the story you are about to watch, Aaliyah, a determined black woman, and Ethan, a kind-hearted white man from a wealthy family, must navigate the challenges of their interracial relationship. Will their love be strong enough to overcome family disapproval? Let's dive into the story. Aaliyah had always prided herself on her independence. Growing up in a middle-class family, she had learned early on that hard work and resilience were her only guarantees. Her father had instilled in her a work ethic that drove her to where she was today, running a small but successful marketing firm, Aaliyah Company. Yet, despite her achievements, she constantly felt the weight of societal expectations. As a black woman, she had to prove herself over and over again in spaces that were predominantly white, wealthy, and male-dominated. The charity gala she organized that evening was one of those spaces. She was used to walking through grand ballrooms filled with people from a world she wasn't born into. Though her company had earned a reputation for organizing prestigious events, she couldn't escape the feeling of being an outsider. Ethan, on the other hand, was the very embodiment of privilege. As the son of one of the wealthiest tech entrepreneurs in the country, he was accustomed to the finer things in life. But unlike many in his social circle, he had always sought to distance himself from the arrogance that often accompanied wealth. His passion lay in building his own path, creating a tech startup from scratch without relying on his family's connections. It was at this intersection of ambition and humility that his world collided with Aaliyah's. The gala, filled with influential businessmen, politicians, and celebrities, was just another opportunity for him to network. But when he saw Aaliyah standing confidently in her professional attire, directing her team with precision and grace, he found himself intrigued. She wasn't like the other women in his social circle. There was a fire in her eyes, a determination he admired. Their first conversation, initially light and casual, soon delved deeper. Ethan found himself opening up to Aaliyah in ways he hadn't with others. He admired her strength, the way she had built her business from the ground up, and her genuine desire to help the community. Aaliyah, though cautious at first, appreciated Ethan's sincerity. He wasn't the typical rich guy who flaunted his wealth. Instead, he seemed grounded, kind, and most importantly, genuinely interested in her, not just what she represented. As they continued to meet for coffee, dinners, and walks, their bond grew. Despite their vastly different upbringings, they discovered common ground in their drive for success and their belief in giving back to society. The first cracks in their seemingly perfect relationship appeared when Ethan invited Aaliyah to meet his family. Aaliyah had known from the beginning that their relationship would face challenges. She had heard enough stories about interracial couples to know that love alone wasn't always enough, but she hadn't fully prepared herself for the intensity of the scrutiny she would face from Ethan's family. The Lancasters were old money generational wealth that had been passed down through decades. Their mansion, situated in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in the country, was a testament to their affluence. As Aaliyah walked through the grand entrance for the first time, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her. Everything about the house, from the marble floors to the gilded frames on the walls, screamed privilege. Ethan's mother, Margaret Lancaster, was the epitome of elegance. She greeted Aaliyah with a smile that seemed polite but cold. William Lancaster, Ethan's father, was more reserved, offering little more than a firm handshake and a nod. The dinner started off cordially enough. Margaret asked Aaliyah about her business, her upbringing, and her goals for the future. But as the evening wore on, the questions became more pointed. So Aaliyah, Margaret said, swirling her wine, "Ethan tells us you run your own marketing firm. How do you manage to balance that with your personal life?" Aaliyah smiled, though she sensed the underlying judgment. "It's all about time management. I've built a good team, so I can delegate when necessary. It gives me the flexibility to have a personal life too." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "And what about your family? Are they supportive of your career?" Aaliyah paused. She knew this question wasn't about her family's support, it was about her background. "My family has always encouraged me to follow my dreams. They're proud of what I've accomplished." The conversation shifted back to Ethan's work, but Aaliyah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being judged. She had expected some resistance, but the subtle digs from Margaret stung more than she had anticipated. Later that evening, as Ethan walked her to her car, Aaliyah voiced her concerns. "I don't think your mother likes me." Ethan frowned. "She just needs time to get to know you." "I'm not sure that's the problem," Aaliyah replied. "It's more than just getting to know me, Ethan. I don't fit into your world." Ethan sighed. "I don't care about any of that. Aaliyah, I love you. My family will come around." But Aaliyah wasn't so sure. The tension between Aaliyah and Ethan's family only grew over time. Margaret, while always polite on the surface, made it clear that she didn't see Aaliyah as a suitable match for her son. It wasn't just the fact that Aaliyah was black, though. That was certainly a factor. It was also her social standing. To Margaret, Aaliyah represented everything that was wrong with the idea of social mobility. She couldn't fathom how a woman from a modest background could be a suitable partner for her son, who was destined to inherit the Lancaster Empire. At a family dinner one evening, things came to a head. Margaret, clearly irritated by Aaliyah's presence, finally voiced her concerns in front of everyone. "I just don't understand why you would settle for someone so different," Ethan, Margaret said, her voice sharp. "You come from a long line of successful people. You have a legacy to uphold." Ethan, visibly angry, shot back. "Aaliyah is successful. She's built a business from the ground up. She's independent, driven, and everything I could ever want in a partner." Margaret scoffed. "Oh, please, Ethan. She's not one of us. She doesn't come from the same world. How do you expect her to understand our way of life?" Aaliyah sat there, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks. She had expected resistance, but hearing it so bluntly still hurt. "I may not come from your world," Aaliyah said, her voice steady but firm, "but that doesn't mean I'm not worthy of love or respect. I've worked hard for everything I have. And if that's not good enough for you, that's your problem, not mine." Margaret narrowed her eyes. "It's not just about you, Aaliyah. It's about what's best for Ethan. He needs someone who understands the responsibilities that come with being a Lancaster. You're not that person." Ethan stood up, his face red with anger. "That's enough, Mom. Aaliyah is the woman I love, and nothing you say is going to change that." But the damage had been done. Aaliyah couldn't shake the feeling that no matter what she did, she would never be accepted by Ethan's family. The constant scrutiny, the whispered judgments, and the subtle racism weighed heavily on her. The tension wasn't just limited to Ethan's family. As word of their relationship spread through their respective social circles, Aaliyah found herself facing judgment from all sides. Some of her black friends warned her about dating a white man from such a wealthy background. "You know how they see us," one of her friends, Tasha, said during lunch one day. "To them, we're either gold diggers or something exotic to be toyed with. Are you sure you want to go down that road?" Aaliyah understood their concerns. She had faced enough racism and microaggressions in her life to know that some people would never see her as an equal, especially in a relationship with a white man from a wealthy family. But she loved Ethan. She believed in their relationship, even if others didn't. Still, the constant whispers, the sideways glances, and the judgment began to take their toll on her. She started pulling back from Ethan, not because she didn't love him, but because she wasn't sure if she could handle the weight of their relationship. As the weeks passed, the strain on Aaliyah and Ethan's relationship intensified. Aaliyah began to feel suffocated by the weight of Ethan's world. The glamour of the gala life that once excited her now felt like a gilded cage, trapping her in a narrative that wasn't her own. She missed the simplicity of her life before her cozy apartment, her loyal friends, and the satisfaction of building something from the ground up. One night, after an event where Ethan's family had treated her coldly again, she broke down. Sitting on the edge of her bed, she felt lost and overwhelmed. Was it worth it to fight for a love that felt increasingly like an uphill battle? Ethan arrived shortly after, sensing something was off. He found her sitting on the floor, tears streaming down her face. "Aaliyah, what's wrong?" he asked, kneeling beside her. "I don't think I can do this anymore." "Ethan," she admitted, her voice trembling, "I love you, but your family makes me feel like I'm not good enough. I can't keep putting myself in situations where I'm constantly judged." Ethan's heart sank. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. "I know it's hard, but we can't let them tear us apart. You're more than enough for me." "But what about them? I feel like I'm always fighting against their perceptions. They think I'm just after your money, that I'm trying to climb the social ladder, and I can't just ignore that." Ethan cupped her face, forcing her to look into his eyes. "I'm not my family, Aaliyah. I don't care what they think. I love you for who you are, not what you have or where you come from." Aaliyah nodded but felt a flicker of doubt in her heart. She loved Ethan, but the reality of their situation felt heavier than ever. The societal pressures began to seep into their lives more than ever. Aaliyah's friends voiced their concerns more frequently. "You're setting yourself up for failure," Aaliyah Tasha insisted one afternoon. "You need someone who understands your struggles, not someone who's lived in privilege his whole life." The comment stung. "Ethan is not just a product of his upbringing. He's worked hard for what he has," Aaliyah countered, feeling defensive. "He sees me for me." But in her heart, Aaliyah wondered if Tasha was right. Maybe Ethan's upbringing was something they couldn't overcome. Meanwhile, Ethan was facing pressure from his friends and family too. At a charity event, one of his friends, Brad, made a comment that rattled him. "You're really dating a black woman? That's bold, man. Don't let her use you for your connections." Ethan was furious. "Aaliyah is not using me. She's brilliant and hardworking. You don't know her." Brad shrugged, dismissing Ethan's defense. "Just be careful, man. You know how they can be. They just want what they can't have." The comments weighed heavily on Ethan's mind. He was torn between defending Aaliyah and the nagging doubts planted by his friends. He wanted to believe in their love, but the outside voices were becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Recognizing the need for support, Aaliyah decided to confide in her mother. She had always admired her mother's strength, and perhaps she could offer the wisdom Aaliyah desperately needed. Over tea, Aaliyah opened up about her struggles with Ethan's family and the judgments from her friends. "I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle, Mom. They see me as an outsider, and no matter what I do, I can't seem to change their minds." Her mother listened patiently, then replied, "You've always been a fighter, Aaliyah. But this is about love, not just you. You have to decide if Ethan is worth the fight. Do you believe he sees you for who you are?" "Yes, I do," Aaliyah admitted, her heart swelling with affection for Ethan. "Then don't let anyone take that away from you. People will always have opinions, but what matters is how you both feel about each other. Love is worth the struggle, sweetheart." Aaliyah nodded, feeling a surge of determination. She loved Ethan, and she would fight for their love, but she needed to approach things differently. One evening, after a particularly challenging week, Aaliyah decided to take the initiative. She invited Ethan to her favorite diner, a cozy, no-frills place that reminded her of home. As they sat in the booth, she took a deep breath. "I want us to face this together, Ethan," she began. "I'm tired of feeling like we're fighting our battles alone. We need to communicate more openly about what's happening with your family and our friends." Ethan looked at her with a mix of admiration and relief. "I want that too. I don't want you to feel isolated because of me. How can we make this work? Let's set some boundaries with your family. We can't change their perceptions, but we can control how much influence they have on our relationship," Aaliyah suggested. "And I need you to stand up for me when they say those hurtful things." Ethan nodded, determination flooding his expression. "I promise I will. I want you to feel safe and loved in this relationship." With that, they began to devise a plan. They would attend family gatherings together but make it clear that their relationship was a partnership, not a competition. Aaliyah would no longer shrink away from the conversations but engage with confidence. Their resolve was put to the test during the next family dinner at the Lancaster mansion. Aaliyah walked in with Ethan, her heart racing but her head held high. She had donned a beautiful navy dress that hugged her figure just right, a reminder to herself that she belonged there just as much as anyone else. Dinner began with small talk, but Aaliyah could sense the tension. Margaret's eyes flicked toward her now and then, as if waiting for an opportunity to pounce. As the conversation turned to the family's business, Aaliyah saw her chance. "Ethan and I were discussing marketing strategies just the other day," she interjected, surprising everyone. "It's fascinating how branding can change public perception. In my line of work, I've seen companies succeed or fail based on how they present themselves to the community." Margaret, caught off guard, raised an eyebrow. "And what do you think of the Lancaster brand, Aaliyah?" Taking a deep breath, Aaliyah answered, "I think it's a strong brand with a legacy. But like all brands, it needs to evolve with the times. That means being more inclusive and understanding diverse perspectives." A tense silence fell over the table. Ethan's father, William, finally spoke up. "You seem to know a lot about branding. Tell me, what's your opinion on our philanthropic efforts?" Aaliyah seized the moment. "I think philanthropy is vital, but it's equally important to listen to the communities we're trying to help. Sometimes we need to ask for input rather than impose our solutions." Ethan watched in awe as Aaliyah navigated the conversation with grace. The confidence radiating from her was infectious, and he felt a surge of pride. This was the woman he loved, strong, articulate, and unyielding. Margaret was not pleased, but Aaliyah had made her point. They ended the dinner without any overt conflict, but Aaliyah could feel a shift in the air. For the first time, she felt like she had stood her ground. As the weeks rolled by, Aaliyah and Ethan's relationship continued to grow stronger. They supported each other through the ups and downs, confronting their families and friends together. However, one critical moment lay ahead that would test everything they had built. At a charity ball hosted by the Lancasters, Aaliyah wore a stunning red gown that made her feel powerful and beautiful. She and Ethan had decided to attend as a united front, determined to showcase their love amidst the grandeur of wealth. As the night progressed, Margaret found a moment to corner Aaliyah. "I don't appreciate you undermining our family at dinner," she hissed, her eyes narrowing. "You may think you can charm your way in, but you will never belong here." Aaliyah felt a rush of indignation. "I'm not trying to charm my way in, Margaret. I'm here because I love your son. You may not see me as worthy, but I refuse to let your opinions define who I am." Before Margaret could respond, Ethan appeared by Aaliyah's side. "Mom, this isn't how we're going to handle things. Aaliyah deserves your respect. She's part of my life, and I won't let you treat her this way." Margaret scoffed. "You're making a mistake, Ethan. You'll regret this." "No, Mom, I won't," he replied firmly. "I love Aaliyah, and if you can't accept that, then maybe we need to reconsider our relationship." The crowd around them had fallen silent, witnessing the confrontation. Aaliyah felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. For the first time, Ethan stood up for her, and she knew they had crossed a significant threshold. Margaret's face flushed with anger as she turned away, leaving Ethan and Aaliyah standing together amidst the crowd. "You did it," Aaliyah whispered, tears of relief brimming in her eyes. Ethan wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly. "I'll always stand by you, Aaliyah, no matter what." In the aftermath of that night, the dynamics began to change. While there were still challenges, Aaliyah felt a sense of acceptance from some members of Ethan's family. They realized that their relationship was not a passing phase but something real and profound. Ethan and Aaliyah continued to grow, facing challenges together with newfound strength. They learned to navigate their differences, celebrating each other's successes while confronting the societal challenges they faced as an interracial couple. As the months turned into years, Aaliyah became an integral part of the Lancaster family. She hosted charity events, collaborated on projects with Ethan, and even found common ground with some of his family members. Ethan's family learned to appreciate Aaliyah's perspective, recognizing the importance of inclusivity in their philanthropic efforts. The couple's love story became a catalyst for change within the family, pushing them to reevaluate their beliefs and prejudices. Years later, on a quiet evening, Aaliyah and Ethan stood on their balcony overlooking the city. They had built a life together, filled with love, understanding, and resilience. "Aaliyah," Ethan began, his voice serious yet tender. "Do you remember that first night we met? How everything felt so uncertain?" Aaliyah smiled, remembering the spark that ignited their connection. "I do. I never imagined we'd come this far." Ethan took her hand, his eyes filled with love. "I've learned so much from you. You've shown me what it means to fight for love, to stand up for what's right, and to embrace our differences. I can't imagine my life without you." "AW," Ethan, Aaliyah replied, her heart swelling with emotion. "I feel the same way. You've challenged me to grow and pushed me to be the best version of myself." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "So, how about we make this official? Aaliyah, will you marry me?" Aaliyah's breath caught in her throat. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Ethan slipped a delicate ring onto her finger, sealing their love with a promise to continue facing the world together, no matter the obstacles they encountered. As they embraced under the stars, Aaliyah felt a sense of peace wash over her. They had navigated a turbulent journey, but their love had proven to be a force stronger than any societal barrier.